Good morning, Saturday, April 11th, 2020, quarter to 4 in the morning. I have a very long day ahead of me. I'm only going on approximately 7, maybe 8. I'm going on approximately 7 or 8 hours of sleep. I have dishes to do. I have laundry and then to get through the wash. I just have a lot to do today. I'm not going to make any excuses today. I'm just going to do it. I'm not going to procrastinate. So while I do these little dab of dishes here, I already got dressed. I got my boots on. Got my roll of quarters in my pocket. Many of you know, the most crucial part of being a chef is cleanliness of the kitchen, which I fell behind on a little bit. Not going to make any excuses. Going to state it objectively. I've honestly got a lot of things that I have to do today, and the least of which involve running errands outside my home. I went to work throughout the week. It was not fun. It was, to say the least, boring. Boring. But I gotta pay the bills, right? That's the long and the short of it. I gotta serve my community on top of that. Donate some time back. Support local businesses that are able to stay open at this time. Now, the governor's here in the state of Washington. If you're wondering where Washington, it's in the Pacific time zone. It's 2 states north of California, 2 states west of Montana, the 1 state still on the west coast, right dead south of the Canadian border. It is our country border. Not only that, it forms one of our state borders, as does Oregon and Idaho. Now, the Columbia River forms a large chunk of the Washington state border. You need to bend that tine of that fork today back into place. Hopefully you can see just how far out of whack that one tine is. Placing an order today with a local company, well, actually a small company that was in the process of bringing their factory and transitioning to the United States for their factories, and COVID-19 hit and ruined that. I'm not saying that Donald Trump doesn't know what he's doing or talking about, but what I am saying is it put a huge wrench on the spokes. I honestly, in the last 2 weeks of being back to work, have not seen any trucks on the road. The only commercially operated vehicles I see on the roads currently are city buses. That's it, nothing else. I go by the truck stop, it's empty. I go by security yards, they're full. Everybody's gone home. Trucking industry in Spokane County is done and over with. It's shut down. Aside for groceries and their deliveries. And some freight. That reminds me, I also need to take out the trash. I once had a teacher who pronounced trash very weirdly. I'm not saying it was wrong, I'm just saying he pronounced it much differently than anyone I've ever heard pronounce it. He pronounced it trash. It's not exactly wrong and it's not exactly right. Just a different way of enunciating it. But it put things into a new perspective. Perception. If you hate the way it sounds, you're not exactly going to be apt to do it. So I've got a lot of things on my mind. I still have the turkey that I've been working on butchering the whole freaking week. I hate butchering birds. But I'm just going to get it done. I just do what I have to. Just gotta do what I have to. I know it sounds odd that a chef doesn't like butchering a bird, but that's why there's butchers in society. I can't describe to you how annoying it is to hear people say, oh, that's above my pay grade. Oh, that's below my pay grade. In a previous video, I recounted a story, and there went blood flying on the wall. This is one of the few times I'm thankful not to have a dog in my home. It's dull. That is dull. when you folks come to an understanding of why I don't enjoy butchering birds from actually having done it on your own, then you can tell me that it isn't that bad. My hand is about the same width as one of the longer bones in a full-blown turkey. Anyone who's ever butchered a deer before will understand what I'm talking about when I say it's really unique how when butchering and a general tip, this dark patch on the wing, it's not that it went bad, it's that something happened in the harvesting of the bird, well, in the ending of the bird's life, and yes, it's a fact of life. Get over it. If hearing that the meat you eat once had a life bothers you, you're on the wrong channel. I'm not going to sugarcoat it. I'm not going to lie to you. I don't lie to you. Holy crappers. I'm doing the equivalent of filleting to harvest this bird. For those of you who have filleted anything, no, I do not mean your finger. I mean like filleting a fish, filleting a bird, filleting an animal that you harvested. You will understand that birds are some of the most amazing creatures on earth, but they are also some of the most difficult to harvest. Had it not been for my farm experience, I would have a much more difficult time harvesting animals. No, not from the blood and guts, but from the lack of experience. I actually have numerous different techniques that I use from part to part of what I'm harvesting. So a technique I use, because every critter is just a little different. As to what they ate, how they grew. I'm always feeling to see where the bones are. And this bird was very asymmetrical. And you will find that in nature quite frequently. You'll even find it in humans. There's that. Now I can open that. For those of you wondering, I did not butcher for a living, but I did butcher with my father because it was just part of our operation, part of our self-sustenance. I was pretty fortunate in the sense that my dad and my mother were very willing to teach me a lot about a lot. What we used to do after we had butchered is we would take the carcass over to the woods away from our house by at least 1 air mile, preferably 3 or 4 air miles or more. Y'all are gonna be in for a huge reality check about things in the very near future. Oh, I know what's in here. If any of you know what's in here, you know what I'm going to be cooking eventually. I'm not recording videos of me actually cooking because of the fact that okay, that's a little tricky there. Gotta figure out how to get my knife blade under there. One mistake a lot of people make is expecting to automatically be good at something. Well, you know, a lot of things in life are an acquired skill. You just gotta put effort into it, continue to learn it. And you'll learn it. I just do what I have to. What I'm doing right now, I'm skinning the bird. Some people think that taking the fat off an animal is skinning it. Nope. Once lived with an idiot that thought that. Claimed to be a farmer. Nope, he definitely wasn't. Being honest with other people begins with being honest with yourself. Those who know me very well at this time know that I will not bullcrap anyone anymore. I don't have time for it. I don't have energy for it. There it is. It's a fact that your hands are going to get greasy and dirty in a lot of ways when you're butchering. Just get over it. Just deal with it. Remember this, folks. I literally do have years of experience with this. Very few of you are going to have anywhere near the level of skill with your hands as you begin this process as I currently have. Because when you start out, you're learning a skill. People want things to come easy. It's just not reality. Okay, now to flip this big old bird over. Anyone know what this is? It's a neck. It's the neck of the turkey. I've already done a lot of the pulling of the fat off of it. So I'm looking for in this, it's going in the crock pot later on. In fact, I'm going to make a stew or a soup. One of the two, however it turns out. Wesley Pandy once said, most of my best bales are not created on purpose. They just happen. Well, most of my best works are not quite on purpose. Come on. My knife's getting dull. And the bird's getting too warm here for my liking. Well, I can skin that right. Well, I can fillet this right off right like this. A lot of times when I'm butchering, I will turn the knife like this just because I need to get that specific angle. Red Dead Redemption style, right, folks? For those of you gamers out there. Just take your time with it, folks. If you got to put it back in the fridge for a while to cool off, it's okay. It gives you a chance to sharpen your knife. I know it does not normally take me a full week to process an animal. It's the processes in between it that along the way. Okay, now what's interesting here is that when you just get down into it, there really truly is not a heck of a lot. To a critter. To the level that most would expect. A lot of people try to rush through things and whatnot, and they will get injured in the process. Just be careful. Take your time. It's not a race. What it is, it's a journey and a process. A lot of steps. Takes details being paid attention to. And like I said, you gotta learn to walk. Well, you gotta learn to stand before you can learn to walk. Gotta learn to walk before you can learn to run. Gotta learn to to walk fast before you can learn to jog. Gotta learn a lot of things before you can get to the running of the marathon. And that right there is getting close to time to put it back in the fridge. The reason I like the butcher really early in the morning, because it's coldest in the house, it's coldest outside, it's quietest in general, giving me the best shot at being able to focus. If you notice, there's times when I get a little bit quiet. It's because I gotta focus a little more. Man. It's gonna take just a hair more. What's really going to get interesting, folks, is when I get into the meat and the potatoes of packaging. And remember, always cut towards your buddy as much as you can. Because at the end of the day, your buddy's usually further away from you than your body is from the knife. Gives you a chance to slow it down instinctually. Just the last little bit on this side of the bird. Now, a cool trick that I learned when it comes to butchering is to understand that you're going to learn over the course of time. Now the reason I've rinsed my hands off there is I don't want to get that grease and whatnot put into, all over the surfaces and whatnot that I was going to touch to get to this. I actually learned a preservation technique from an indigenous friend of mine to keep your meat moist when you have when you're doing your butchering process. Okay. Be right back. Gotta rinse my hands again. A really cool thing that I always make it a point to do when I'm butchering is when I'm butchering, I like to stick the meatiest side of the bird down okay. Now what's in here is the liver, the heart. Trying to remember what the other thing is. The liver, the heart, oh, and the kidneys. Y'all get to see what that's used for at a later point in time. Now, to keep the meat truly moist, I just realized I missed a couple pieces on the board. And like I said, an indigenous buddy of mine taught me a lot of cool things that make harvesting birds a little easier. Now I'm going to go ahead, and you want to use cold water for this part. Cold tap water, and you're just going to fill your pan that you're placing your meat and your bird in throughout the harvesting process. What that's going to do is dual purpose. It's going to keep the meat moist, and it's going to give it a chance to allow more blood to drain out. Now, the animal that whatever you're harvesting, whatever it is that you're harvesting, whatever is in the jug that you haven't processed yet, you need to leave headroom for, because it will drain blood, and the blood will continue to drain for quite a while. Here it is. And then when you're done with that, switch over to pure hot water. In your sink, you're going to spray down. And this is why it's crucial when you're putting a sink in. Make sure you've got one of these spray nozzles if you have a shallow sink, especially. Okay. Now, one thing that I do that not many actually do, I crank my heat up on my hot water heater and if you have children at home, Not recommended. It's actually a bad idea if you have children that are small. But I live alone. I turn my water heater to about 160 degrees. Because that's about all that's required by the FDA to sterilize and keep things clean. And just understand, 160 degrees is very hot. And there you have it, folks. Wasn't the easiest process, but I got about 2/3 the bird. Great. Yeah, it was about 2/3 of the bird harvested now. You just watched me harvest around half of it. For those of you who aren't good at math, in the previous video a week ago, approximately a week ago, had only harvested 1/6 of it, and it got too warm at that time. I'm going to film the rest of getting that bird harvested, but it'll be the same level as it is now. And just a work in progress. So thank y'all for coming around. Appreciate it. Y'all have a good one. And stay tuned. More videos to come.